Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
And I'm Caleb Terrence.
Don't seem so angry.
I'm actually in a pretty good mood right now, buddy.
You have incredible resting bitch face.
We got that's just my face. Like I usually tell everyone. But yeah, no.
When you meet them?
Hey, man, we met at the bar. We pre-gamed a little bit. I had me a nice BLT.
Big, loose titties.
We pet dogs.
That's just my dog.
Yeah, it's a good dog, man.
I wish I had another dog to pet.
Nope, you don't. You just got this one.
I met a really good dog yesterday. He was like biting on my arm. He was adorable.
He was a good boy.
He was a good boy. I mean, misbehaved because he was like a year old, but God, he was adorable.
Sharp little puppy teeth.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, man, the only segue I really have for this is like, let me know if I mispronounce anything, because the Duolingo does not help.
It's kind of like, I mean, that's just kind of a given.
With what?
You're doing your best on the mispronouncing. Pronouncing. You're doing your best.
I'm doing my best to pronounce it. Duolingo is not fucking the best. It's a free app, you know. Mm-hmm. So you speak Spanish. Let me know if this
Shut
is.
the fuck up.
Let me know if I'm incorrect. All right.
Oh my God.
Because all that I do is read it.
You leave me out of this, man. Just let me coldly judge you. Well, I can't even fucking roll my R's over here. Okay, please.
You're like the white kind of Spanish, though. Like you are from Spain.
That is Spanish, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. We're not speaking Hispanic. We're speaking Spanish.
I don't know if what you're saying is racist or not.
It is when it came out of my coworker's mouth when he said he didn't speak Hispanic.
Like, I feel like I'm, like, genetically obligated to know whether or not that's offensive, and I have no idea.
Honestly, as a white guy, I should not be mentioning races of any kind in any context, really.
Can't talk about
it's going to be weird.
It is forbidden.
Yeah. Well, let's get started, shall we?
It's going to make me... I'm already uncomfortable. Man,
Good.
I was riding a high coming in here. Now I feel like shit. Thanks, Jordan.
Federico del Sagrado Corazón de Jesus Garcia Lorca. Pretty good.
We have to bring in Spanish speakers if you're doing this. So
I wrote the entire episode in Spanish.
Be mad at you right now. Like,
was born June 5th, 1898 in Fuente Vasqueros, a small village not far from one of Spain's largest cities, Granada. His father, also named Federico, owned quite a bit of land in the region from which he grew sugar, which provided the family with a lot of wealth. When the young Federico was around 7, his family moved to a town called Esquerosa, which means filthy in Spanish. They moved to a town that's called Filthy.
They moved to Filthy Town?
They moved to fucking Dirtsville.
Hell yeah, dude.
Nowadays, the town
Filthy Town sounds kinky.
Nowadays, the town is called Valderrubio, but...
What does that mean?
Nothing. I mean, but, you know, it's just them...
Did they fix it, or did they double down?
I mean, no, they're trying to hide who they really are, but we really know what they're really like. At 11...
I'm not going to respond when you do that. I'm just going to let you fucking marinate in your own filth when you do that shit.
I live in the suburban part of Oregon. You think I'm not free here?
Go on.
At 11, Federico's family moved to the outskirts of Granada, and although he'd lived the rest of his life here in the big city, Federico would profess his love of nature and his country upbringings for the rest of his life. Now, one thing Federico romanticized early on was his inspiration for art. He said that when he was a kid, back in Fuente Vasqueros, he was out in the fields with his family, and he watched someone dig a scythe into the ground and pull out a piece of Roman pottery from the days when Spain was part of the Roman Empire. From then on, he said he always felt a connection between art and the earth. In 1915, at the age of 17, Federico attended the University of Granada, where he studied literature and law, though he always seemed to have more of an affinity towards music. He had been learning piano since the time he was 11, but ever since his teacher died, he kind of lost passion in it, and his parents just let him discover new things for himself, just kind of hoping he'd get back into music naturally. He never did go back to strictly making music, though in his later writing career, there would always be kind of a musical theme. Instead, as he would hang out at the local cafes at school, he found himself discussing poetry with his classmates, where he quickly found a love for literature. This actually led to him and his little group of friends organizing a tour through Spain, where they would be chaperoned by a professor from the university. And this, by the way, put Federico's mother into complete torment. As soon as she heard her son was pursuing a career in literature instead of law, she was like, oh, fucking artist.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I don't think anybody's stoked to hear their kids get into that.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, I almost feel like, look, not to do a kids today kind of thing, but I would almost equate it at, like, kids just being like, no, listen, I'm really focusing on my TikTok career right now. And it's like, I understand some people make bomb-ass money with that, but you need to understand. I don't want to hear it out of you either. You need to understand. It's not a career for most.
Yeah, just get into something, kids, look, just be like us and get into something that, you're really going to get a return out of fiscally.
I'm really happy that you and I are both on the same wavelength about
like
this.
Podcast.
We're not doing this for monetary value.
I mean,
we don't believe we will be sponsored.
We can say that we understand we're not doing it for money, but that
it's still like in the back of your mind, you're just like, dude, if one benefactor came in and was like, boy,
I feel like
really enjoy this shit, you guys. Here's $1 million. It's not like I'm not like fantasizing that would happen.
I feel like that's more just a thing you say to make you feel better at failing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This failure of a fucking podcast.
Like, well, I mean,
I think we were pretty honest from the get-go.
Yeah.
We probably had a little glint in our eye when we first started, but we knew after the first
maybe.
year. Yeah, the first year we were just like, yeah, we know. It's okay. It's okay.
It's not
fine.
It's not gonna do anything. Like,
we do have a donation page on the website.
Do we really? That's cute.
It's a thing through Squarespace where they were just like, well, you spend enough money on it that you can set it up. And I was like, fine. Set it up. It's fine.
You buy Jordan a beer if you want.
Please buy me beer. God, just, you know what? I am the William S. Burroughs to our podcast. Please just show up to my house and give me liquor. But these travels...
Did you post your address on Squarespace too?
Oh, fucking, yeah. Social Security, everything. Just fucking pretend you're me and send me more liquor, please. Now, these travels around Spain did help inspire Federico Garcia Lorca's first book of poetry, released in 1918 when he was just 20 years old and fully at his father's expense. This book was called Impressions and Landscapes. And granted, self-publishing poetry in Spain, it didn't make much of a splash. In fact, I don't even have anything to really give you as an example because all of it is just kinda okay. But at the very least, it was proof that Federico had what it took to come to fruition as a full-fledged author. When he attended the University of Madrid the next year in 1919, he soon became friends with two other students, kids who, like him, seemed a little odd because of their passion for the deeper meaning of the arts. One of these was Luis Buñuel Portoles, simply known later on as Luis Buñuel, the legendary filmmaker. Does that ring any bells?
Man.
Okay, that's okay. It's a very pretentious name to know.
Don't worry. I'll chime in when I got some.
Well, the other was Salvador Domingo Filippo Jacinto Dalí y Domènec, the Marquess of Dalí of Pujol.
Jesus fuck.
Better known today as the king of surrealism, Salvador Dalí.
Who?
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
Look, we both been high.
Yeah. We know the mustache anteater man, all right? I know anything about like melting clocks and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it wasn't just Buñuel and Dalí that helped shape Federico Garcia Lorca's career. Lorca actually networked with a large number of other artists to help his vision grow, specifically within the thespian crowd and those who ran the Eslava Theater of Madrid. They inspired Lorca to write his first stage play and have it performed the very next year on March 22nd, 1920. He called it The Butterfly's Evil Spell. Now, as one of Lorca's siblings would later say, Federico may have only taken about a week to write some of his stage plays, but he planned them all in his head far in advance, sometimes for years. And this would make sense, since Federico's first toy when he was a child was actually a puppet theater. So it's possible that his first toy was a puppet theater.
Like a little mini puppet theater?
Mm-hmm, a little stage and like little finger puppets.
That's sick as fuck, dude.
Isn't that cool? I Fuck, I didn't think about that before. I would have fucking killed for that.
If we
that would have been dope as shit.
if we ever have a YouTube channel where we actually have video, can we learn puppetry instead?
Well, yeah.
Can we just like go through everything and then like have little puppets of us and then operate the puppets as we're going through all the episodes?
Just do this entire thing. Ooh, Punch and Judy. I love it. Hell yeah.
But it'll be puppets instead.
Well, so it's possible that because of like him playing around with this little puppet theater, it's possible he came up with the story of the butterfly's evil spell a long time ago. In fact, I want to say he actually originally wanted to do this play with puppets, but the producer of the theater convinced him that it was a little unrealistic to do that for like a wider audience. He was like, no, you can't.
Thinking small there, man. A lot of adults like puppets.
There's dozens of us.
We fucking love puppets, man. Eat shit.
That's fucking profiling. Also,
well, no, we like Muppets, not puppets. Remember the puppet museum in Selwood?
Oh fuck. Yeah, that
it's creepy.
I won't say that I didn't like it. Okay, look, they set up the puppet museum in Selwood to be creepy. They knew.
I don't think yeah.
It's kind of like if we had a clown museum. You know, people are instantly going to go there and be like, oh, spooky, which by the way, pussies, all of you pussies, clowns are not scary. Clowns are fun. They're meant to be fun. People that think clowns are scary are just weird. I don't know. I don't know why people think it's so weird.
I don't get the scary thing, but
I don't get it. Anyway,
they just look goofy. But
I don't know. I've seen a dozen horror movies about killer dolls and puppets. Sorry, man. I think I could take each of them on all at once. Like they're not. They have no muscle mass. You kick them.
I don't say that in the Selwood Puppet Museum, bro.
I don't think I can take
so.
that many.
No,
that's
dude.
fair. Yeah,
they look scary as shit, dude. Sunken eyes.
So do you.
Weird little frame. Like,
yeah,
dude, it's
what I'm talking about. Oh, it's like they were all born to be an arborist. Also, Christ. Also, Lorca originally wanted to call the story that he was producing The Least of Comedies, but because no one would want to advertise a play that sounded like it promised to be bad, the title had to be changed as well. That did actually become a thing, though. There was one play, I think, in like the 1920s or something. Somebody did put on a play on Broadway that was called Sold Out, and so nobody went to go fucking see it because all that they saw on the marquee was that it was sold out, so nobody went.
It's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. It's a good lesson in why you don't call it The Least of Comedies either, you know? So anyway, the story is simple. It's about a butterfly with a broken wing who's stuck on the forest floor with all the lowly ground bugs. And try as she might to leave, there's a cockroach who doesn't want her to go as he's fallen madly in love with her. It kind of sounds like your relationship now. So I couldn't...
How dare you insinuate that my lovely partner has only one wing?
2 beautiful wings.
2. I'm not doing that.
So I couldn't find the full story for this play online, but it doesn't seem like I really need to because this production was universally hated when it came out. Like the play only lasted a total of 4 performances because they found out people were only going to see it so they could laugh everyone off stage. Which is kind of funny because the production actually had some very famous people working on it.
So they were doing The Room.
Yeah, they were doing a fucking... Except instead of him being...
Probably wouldn't have been The Room if you would have used puppets, just saying.
That's true. I mean, can you imagine any of the Muppet movies with just actors instead of Muppets? It would be weird as shit. I'd feel off-put.
The thing that's weird to me about this is that... Okay, so it's everyone's insects, and there's a one-winged butterfly on the floor, and they're like... No, there's no way in fucking hell we're going to do this with puppets. We have to do it with people in costumes. Like, that's not going to be 100% fucking weirder and shittier than just some puppets.
You know, if he was hanging out with people like Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali, it almost seems like it would have been a better art piece had he done it with puppets. Quite honestly. Like, it would have said more. People would have gotten it. To have a bunch of people in insect costumes is weird. I would laugh at them.
Right? Like, it's kind of like, think of, Cats. Terrifying.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. But that Broadway play was a huge fucking smash hit. Not as a movie. I mean,
the movie was.
I thoroughly enjoyed it for the wrong reasons, but I did enjoy it quite a bit.
I did the same thing as everybody else. I took my edible and I strapped myself in, and then I went, absolutely not.
I had one friend that watched the entire thing with just like he did an Instagram story, and for like an hour and a half, you just watched his face sink into the couch as he watched Cats. And I thought that was a wonderful live recording. Like, it very much encapsulated it.
But no, they're just like, no. The subject matter for this and puppets isn't gonna go well with an adult audience. But put everybody in weird little bug costumes. Yeah, little bit.
I don't know, man. Like I almost get both sides of it, but looking back, it's like this should have been a puppet play, 100%. Also, the only time I've seen Idris Elba be unsexy was that Cats movie. It was like, oh, this is gross. He looks weird. I don't like this.
Well, part of what's scary about the movie is that it's turning you on. But
oh shit, we're all furries deep down.
Oh god.
Oh no. Well, the butterfly and the cockroach. So basically, this entire play had famous people working on it. The butterfly and the cockroach were both played by leading actresses of their day, and the costumes were made by famous painter Rafael Barradas. And although everyone involved in the butterfly's evil spell would go on to have very successful careers in theater, Federico Garcia Lorca would retain a hatred for theater audiences till the end of his days. Not theater, just them, the people. When he would make a second play 7 years later, he claimed it was the first one he'd ever made. But for a while, the laughter and mockery Lorca received actually made him quit art altogether for a time. He fully focused on law, which I'm sure his mother was so fucking stoked for. But as time went on, he seemed to slip back into the focus of his poetry. In 1921, Lorca again completed a book of poems, which was ingeniously titled Book of Poems. Federico's brother Francisco said that as brilliant as his
brother... lesson after trying to title something last time, man.
I mean, call it book number 2. I don't know. His brother Francisco said that as brilliant as his brother was, everything he ever titled was just a description of what that book was. Whether it was his book Songs, which were lyrics to songs he'd written, or Poet in New York, which was about the poetry he'd made in New York. He never really seemed to care about the titles as much as he cared for the content, which isn't a bad thing. Which, by the way, this is all coming from the introduction of a book I have that was written by his brother Francisco, and it's just kind of funny how even though he's in his 50s, he still bashes his brother for stupid shit, because that's what brothers do. Like, he was talking about this one time when he and Federico were hanging out, and his brother tells him about this poem he was writing, and partway through one of the stanzas, Francisco finishes the line as if he's heard it before, and Federico's like, how did you hear about this? I just made it up. It's new. And Francisco's like, no, man, that's from an old song our aunt used to sing to us as kids. And Federico just gets pissed off at him like, nuh-uh, I made this. And he storms off because he just won't believe that he didn't come up with it. Like, there's no real reason for Francisco to talk about this in the introduction for his brother's work. He just wanted to dunk on his little brother again.
Be like, oh, by the way, no, he is a little bitch.
Yeah, no, I like that's how I know that man is factually his brother. So anyway, Book of Poems was printed by a friend of Federico's, and all expenses paid for, yet again, by his dad. And while the book, again, wasn't any kind of immediate success, his early poems are still very good. Quote, "The great sadness floating in your eyes tells us of your broken, shattered life, the monotony of your bare world, at the window watching people pass, hearing rain fall on the bitterness of the old provincial streets, far away a troubled clash of bells." Now, what Lorca really wanted to do... What?
So he wrote in English?
No. Why would I do it to you in Spanish?
No, it's just... It sounds good.
Yes.
Translated.
I know,
like,
right?
Because it's not really, like, unless it's in what he originally wrote it, we're not really getting, like, a good...
I have the book downstairs that has it on, like, one page in
I
English and the
it,
other one in Spanish. I could read it in Spanish. True, no, but from what I understand, and anyone can fucking write us at calebcan'tread@gmail.com about this, but...
Please don't.
So like I've
unless you're going to be really nice, because that's the mood I'm in right now.
I've read books that were like translated from Arabic or from Japanese, and they do say like there's usually a translator's note in the beginning of these books that's like, so here are the pages where I had a hard time translating for you to get the full mood of what these words actually mean. But from what I understand from Spanish, it's not too difficult to translate from Spanish to English and get a good poetic meaning out of them. Like that's what, at least as far as I've understood.
Poetic vibe.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll be honest. I would sometimes read a page of this and then I'd go over to the other page and I was like, I don't speak Spanish, but I still want to read this in Spanish because that was beautiful. And I'd still read through it and I'd be like, oh shit, I'm hard. You know, this is very nice.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. Now, what Lorca...
Hips, they're moving.
Oh, fuck. I can't stop this feeling rhythm.
No, stop. You're too white. No.
Now, what Lorca really wanted to do wasn't law. It wasn't poetry, and it wasn't even theater, but to make music. And where else could he go to learn but Paris? But because his longtime piano teacher died all those years ago, his parents didn't want the expense to be a mistake, you know? Like, if his teacher was still alive, Lorca's parents probably would have sent him to Paris fucking immediately. But now they were kind of like, let's see if you find someone just as good to take you. You know what I mean? So Lorca wanted to create music and began shaping his poetry into lyrics. And eventually, Lorca caught the attention of a composer by the name of Manuel de Falla. Now, de Falla was a known conductor at this point, pretty famous, but he wasn't someone who could write lyrics to go with the music, you know? And normally this wouldn't be an issue, since orchestral music typically doesn't have words to go with it anyway, unless you were doing an opera. But what de Falla wanted to focus on was flamenco. You know flamenco music? It's that saucy little dance you do with the hand clamps.
The little clippy boys?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
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 Well, anyway, flamenco uses poetry like any other music does, and de Falla wanted Federico Garcia Lorca to help him create it. And this wasn't just some weird jump in career for Manuel de Falla, by the way. You see, people were coming from all over the world to see Spanish operas. It was just the thing at the time. I tried looking into it. I don't know. And while this would be a good thing for de Falla already, theater producers found that while they could claim 3% of the total earnings an opera made in a single night, they could claim 10% of the total earnings for a variety show. Meaning, if during the opera's intermission, you were to just throw a flamenco dancer on stage, the producers could take home a much bigger cut.
That's so fucking stupid.
I know, people are getting up to
Did the flamenco dancers get beat up, like, in the parking lot afterwards?
Well, it was the same cost of a ticket for the people attending, but it's still weird. Like they're like intermission, and it's like, oh, thank God, I get to get a second pint, and I gotta go take a piss, and it's like, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm sitting down.
Oh shit, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, right. Believe it or not, this is why flamenco dancing became such a big part of Spanish culture. This was it. It's just greed. That's the origins.
You little tappy hands dance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. While Lorca and de Falla schemed about how to collect the most cash, they had a very vague notion as to what flamenco music actually was. It wasn't popular yet. You see, flamenco dancing originated in the southern region of Andalusia, a place known to be very poor. And for some reason, they got it in their heads that flamenco music was supposed to tell a story of folklore. Probably because Andalusia was full of these mythical poor people called gypsies. I looked it up. It's not a slur. Don't worry.
I'm so tired of this. I feel like I've spent the last 4 years of my fucking life being fucking torn limb from limb by people telling me that, yes, gypsy's a slur. No, gypsy's not a slur. Yes, we should care about this. No, we don't fucking care about this.
You know, I had to look it up for the Cormac McCarthy episodes where I was like, is Indian a racist term or not? No. And basically there was like,
I don't know. Oh,
no,
God.
I know. And here's the thing. It's split, not even evenly. Most Native Americans do not give a shit, but a lot of people really care that you call them Native American. When it comes to gypsies, and I did look this up, there's a lot of people very proud to have gypsy blood.
Okay, dude,
I'm just saying.
I don't even
Gypsy
think
blood sounds like
Look, man, I don't even see there being that big of a jump there to being like, don't fucking call me Native American either, motherfucker.
Yeah, no, I get that. But
we didn't call it that.
What else? What else do you? What else do you call a gypsy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Look, but this is the way it is.
Caravan people. I don't.
That's worse.
Is it?
That's terrible.
You could just what? Well, if they're offended, if that's bad, you could just describe characteristics. Wait, no, that's not.
No, that's worse, dude.
Is that how it?
Do we call them stick people because they like to carry sticks around? I don't know. What about fire people? What fire starters? No, thieves. You know, fire thieves. The you know. Look, man.
That's a mobile antique shop person.
Are these antiques? That's a TV. I feel like that's someone else's TV.
I started here with good intentions, and I feel like it just got really not okay there. Like,
we're going to move past it.
All right, I'm sorry.
But either way, in order to build a little hype around Manuel de Falla's shows, he and Lorca held a flamenco contest during a festival in 1922 as a way to popularize the dance. But as big of a deal as it was, the audience, especially those who were actually from Andalusia, they saw that our two judges had no idea what the fuck they were talking about when it came to flamenco. They awarded first place to some kid that sort of told a story, and they were just like, weird, I wonder why no one is doing a fairy tale thing. Do these idiots have no idea what flamenco is all about?
I think, yeah, I don't think the clicky hand, flowy dress thing, that would be extremely complex to tell a story with that.
Well, right, but I mean, that's
like, why would you assume that it's supposed to do that? It's like, no, it's just a frilly dance thing with some clippy hands.
I don't know if you remember this, and honestly, I might have only had insight into this because my cousin's wife is from Peru, but there was a big thing in around 2010, 2011, where a lot of places in Portland were opening up that were Peruvian restaurants. And she went to like all these places like, oh, thank God. And she was like, none of these places are Peruvian. She was like, this is not Peruvian food. And the one place that she did find that was Peruvian, she was like, why are you charging me $20? All Peruvian food is beans and rice. You don't need to do this. But it almost felt like these guys were doing the same thing. They were bringing something from Andalusia, but it was a concept that they didn't fully understand. And they were just like, yeah, no, this is what Andalusian culture is. This is flamenco, and you idiots are doing it wrong. And then all the people from Andalusia are just like, guess we're doing it wrong. It's kind of sad.
Oh, my bad, man. Yeah, no, sorry, I guess I didn't understand the thing I made there.
Yeah, no, yeah. Regardless of them becoming the butt of some jokes, this specific contest largely popularized the dance, making it the national craze in Spain that it is today. It is very much because of these two people that people know what flamenco even is. All the while, with all of these endeavors, Lorca was writing entire collections of poetry that he just didn't see the merit of and refused to print. He did have some that came out, but it wasn't until his collection called Songs was published in 1924 that he once again stepped into the spotlight. Now, if someone were to make an homage to Lorca or make fun of Lorca, they'd do it by referencing the moon, because the moon would come to be in like half his fucking poems as a symbol. For anything, really. He used it as a metaphor for love, for death, for sadness, for joy, and this all started in this collection, Songs. It's also from this collection that he would be immortalized with a poem called Parting. Quote, if I die, leave the balcony open. The boy eats oranges. From the balcony I see him. The reaper cuts wheat. From my balcony I hear him. If I die, leave the balcony open. It's a very short poem. It almost works as an epitaph for a gravestone. Well, no one was sure of it then, but this poem in particular would end up being immortalized with Lorca as just that, an elegy for himself, as he would have less than 10 years left to live before his murder. A few years later, in 1927, Lorca was invited to Barcelona to show off some drawings he'd done. And believe it or not, he's actually quite good. The typical surrealist stuff of the time, though. But when asked about these agonized faces he had all over his works, he described them as self-portraits, saying they represented, quote, man's capacity for crying as well as winning. Come on, Caleb. No, really, listen to that. Caleb, look me in the eyes. Man's capacity for crying as well as winning.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, it sounds stupid.
I have to pee now.
I did this.
You want to keep it running, or you want to?
No. Let me tell you real quick, though.
Right,
I know. Hang on now. I want you to know. This does sound stupid, but what he was saying was that who a person is can't be pulled separately from who they are when they're sad or happy. That people are a complex series of emotions, and when you look at someone, you can't really know what they're going through. And I know that's
deep, man.
I know that's the subject of every empathy video you're forced to watch at work nowadays, but when he said that, it was very profound.
Wait, they make you watch empathy videos at work?
Yeah. Because we work in an office with other people.
What different lives we lead, man.
I know. His gallery, although only shown for a week, was a wonderful advertisement for his poetry. And later, the collective of artists that shaped Spain before their looming civil war was dubbed the Generation of 27. And it put Lorca right at the top of that list. You know how everyone talks about the pinnacle of punk being New York in 77? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally.
It's like that's when Ramones, Iggy Pop, it's all of that culminated right there. New York Dolls. It's that, but it's Spain and it's art.
You wouldn't say it was like Bay Area stuff in the 80s?
For punk?
Never mind.
No. Look, no, hey, I get it. Dead Kennedys came from there, but like, no.
All right. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. I won't. Oh, God, how do I put this? The true beginnings was New York in 77. I won't say it was the climax of it or the apex or the best part of it. No. Mm-hmm. That was Bay Area.
If there's one thing that's going to get listeners to get hate mail to us.
Actually, punk started in
like,
Portland.
Yeah.
Just like, no, and I tell people
this. Firing up right now.
I've told this to music nerds before because it pisses them off when I tell them, punk actually started in Portland, and they'll go, "How's that?" And I'll just be like, "Well, really, Louie Louie by the Kingsmen, their cover, that was recorded in Portland, and that was really the beginning of a lot of punk movements. Was people covering Louie Louie, and they just."
Why don't you carry on with your day, sir, while I process that?
I'm not wrong. Incoming mail in 3, 2. Well, that same year, in 1927, Federico Garcia Lorca.
That would be how we get hate mail. It wouldn't be
fucking music nerds.
It wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't be any like serious topic that we covered and had bad takes on or anything. It would just be.
I don't know. Our first bit of hate mail was somebody saying, what was it? William S. Burroughs did heroin so much sooner than you said he did. And it's like, what are you even arguing right now?
You want to come on the cast, man?
Like, I don't care.
You can come talk about it. You're going to have to buy yourself a microphone, though. You can take them back in within a couple days and just say you don't like the microphone. And then that's how you get the equipment.
We've done it twice. Yeah.
It's like Guitar Center.
Shout out to Guitar Center.
Yeah, you're welcome. You can please educate Jordan.
So that same year,
I have the most awkward recording ever, where we just
just bring on someone that hates our show.
Just bring on somebody who hates the show, but I want to do.
We've done that. We had Sean.
No, but I want to do the thing we were talking about, where we just set up we don't tell the restaurant or anything. We just completely set up a recording space and just keep ordering margaritas and chips and salsa somewhere.
I still say that's a good fucking idea. We need to do that with one of these.
Because it's like, we could just rent a room in a library.
No, we're going to record as Si Senor.
But then we couldn't have margaritas and
and
Mexican food. So
I bet that I could probably talk to not one of the hipster one location Mexican restaurants, but a true Mexican restaurant. I'd be like, can we record in here and just get drunk?
Shit.
Yeah, they're not going to care. They'll probably love it. Yeah, the owner might come by with some drinks later and hang out, and it's like, yeah, no, we'll give him a headset. We'll talk about this later. I really want to.
Dude, we're doing this, man. Mostly it's just that anytime I'm here, I'm generally like, wow, I wish I was just getting drunk at a bar.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes from. But
I agree. No. Well, that same year, in 1927, Federico Garcia Lorca went back to his old friend Salvador Dali to have him design set pieces for his upcoming play called Mariana Pineda, about the life of Mariana de Pineda Munoz, who was executed by the Spanish king almost 100 years before due to her outspoken critiques on the royal family. And once Lorca found that people liked the play, he started telling everyone this was actually his first attempt at a stage play. He'd never even heard of the butterfly's evil spell.
Nope.
Don't know what that
Marinara
is.
Pinata, my first work.
Now, the main character of Mariana Pineda was played by a woman by the name of Margarita Zergu. And while there were rumors about a tryst between her and Lorca at the time, it would seem that today most people remember the real relationship that flared between Lorca and Dali. Now, Salvador Dali has always said that while they remained very close friends, he had always rejected Federico Lorca's sexual advances, from which from their very bohemian...
You think his dick's all surrealist and weird?
Yeah, it's fucking melted.
It's just an anteater.
No, it's got long legs like those elephants. Which, from their very bohemian backgrounds, I would like to formally say, though, bullshit. In fact, friends of theirs, while they can, of course, never say that they've seen the two fuck, estimate that they actually dated from around the years 1926 to 1928. Granted, the sources on this are sketchy at best, because both of these men wouldn't become known until like a year later, so no one was really bothering to pay attention to their personal lives just yet. But as we'll get into later, the gays in Spain were expressly hunted in later years. So Dali...
The what?
The gays in Spain were hunted down.
Oh.
Yeah. And so Dali probably got a little skittish saying he once fucked a guy. Or more. You know? I get it.
Yeah. No, I'd want to get out of there.
Fair. Now, back when Lorca was judging that flamenco contest in 1922, he found a love for Andalusia, particularly for its countryside. And as he looked more into their culture, he found also a love for their people. In 1928, at the age of 30, Federico Garcia Lorca released his most famous work, Gypsy Ballads. Now, we've been over this, Caleb, it's fine. Now, the poems themselves don't actually have anything to do with gypsies.
We've gone over a lot of rougher stuff, man. Doesn't mean it's fine.
Fair enough. All right. His poems don't actually have anything to do with gypsies, though they are sometimes in them. Regardless, his poetry carries with it a central theme of death and the moon, again, as like a motif. He described gypsy ballads as, quote, gypsies, horses, archangels, planets, its Jewish and Roman breezes, rivers, crimes, the everyday touch of the smuggler, and the celestial note of the naked children of Cordoba. A book that hardly expresses visible Andalusia at all, but where the hidden Andalusia trembles. The book was a tremendous success, and above all, the style in which the poems are told are much like the way stories are told in the old countryside, once again personifying a goodness in the country. But as much as the book brought Lorca fame throughout the entire Spanish-speaking world, he looked to move away from any form of beautifying the countryside as well, wanting people to take a hard look at their most impoverished peoples. And although his poetry was earning him renown as a writer, Federico Garcia Lorca would seem to see himself as more of a writer for the stage instead. He continued to make plays his entire life, and conducted some music for them as well. As a matter of fact, the poetry he made from gypsy ballads are ironically today sung in a lot of flamenco melodies, as they all carry that same rhythm. But as he continued to work on plays, Lorca also began drifting further apart from Salvador Dali's friendship, or friendship, depending on how you look at it.
Did he smash Salvador Dali?
Oh, 100%.
100%?
Yeah. But he started moving away from his butt.
Salvador Dali seems like a man who would, like...
What kind of a lover do you think he was?
No, I'm just thinking about, like, the weird shit he would do to his own pubes. You feel me?
Curl him up in that little TikTok thing, like I don't mean the app. I mean like I mean like the dude from. I'm on the weird part of TikTok right now where we were. No, you know I'm willing to bet his pubes look a lot like that character from Beauty and the Beast. That's a clock. You know what I'm talking about?
It's all permed out and curled and splayed in weird directions.
Yeah, you know that little clock dude? That's
He's
just
doing some weird, like, Uzumaki things with his pubes. Like,
I bet he did.
You know?
He had to have experimented in body art to some degree. Even if he never published anything, he was just like, this didn't work out.
I mean, man definitely experimented with at least his pubes.
My chest hair is a square. Yeah, no, I'm sure
chest hair is a square, silly mustache. Yeah, the pubes are wild down there, dude. The pubes probably belong in a museum.
They probably were the fucking cover to a Primus cover that we just haven't recognized yet.
Something wild is going on down there, dude. And it's kind of a shame that we don't
never
know.
got to see it.
Like, whoa, dude.
We're going to talk later about this, but I want to continue this conversation. In 1928, everything would begin to change for Lorca. Now, homosexuality had been legal in Spain since 1822, but in 1928, the dictator of Spain, Miguel Primo de Rivera, decided that he'd had enough pretending to be civil and just changed a lot of things, like dictators do. Now, Primo de Rivera had actually been in power since 1923, 5 years earlier when he overthrew the government. But he did that thing where he's like, sure, I took your country by force, but I promise not to make any rash decisions. And Spain still had a king at this point, but just like any other royalty, he didn't really hold any, legitimate power. So the king kind of pretended like he let Primo de Rivera take control, and he was like, congratulations on becoming prime minister, you mean? But no, this guy was a true fascist through and through, even if that term wouldn't be created for another 20 years. His kids were all creepy little bastards, too. His daughter, Pilar Primo de Rivera, was once in an arranged marriage with fucking Adolf Hitler.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that sadly fell through, though.
Is that before or after art school?
After. This was that time. Yeah, no, she said even though it didn't work out, she was still very honored. It you know what it was?
All right.
You know what it was, though? What the reason they didn't tie the knot? It was the language barrier.
Oh, good for her.
She didn't bother to speak German, and he wouldn't speak Spanish.
Maybe she didn't understand what he was fucking saying.
Yeah, no, that's what it means, Caleb. That's what a language barrier is.
Yeah, no. But it's just like, okay, all right.
No, I have a feeling that anything that comes out of your mouth is just very hateful. I don't know. Something about you. So anyway, Federico Garcia Lorca started a very public relationship with a sculptor by the name of Emilio Aladrin Parejo just before Primo de Rivera made homosexuality illegal. And once he did, they soon broke up for risk of being jailed and honestly, probably executed as well. Well, Lorca not only becomes more...
So wait, that's what the dictator did, is
he made homosexuality just illegal.
You kind of skimmed that. You kind of went off about his family. You didn't actually tell me what he did.
He made homosexuality illegal.
No.
And, for people like him, though, it's like, it's illegal. Are we talking like a fine or like a few months in jail? It's illegal.
Okay.
Got it. I think I know what that means.
Wait, did he actually say homosexuality is illegal, or was he just like sodomies?
No, it was homosexuality.
Just straight up.
Just being
just
gay.
Straight up. He was just like, no gay shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was the whole thing.
Just like, you better say no homo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
look, when I'm blowing out my bro's back, I say no homo. All right. Well, Lorca not only becomes more depressed because he can't openly be who he is, but as Andalusian culture becomes more prominent and celebrated in Spain, which was partly due to the works he created in the flamenco contest he held, Lorca starts getting known as that gypsy poet, and he fucking hates it. Quote, "The gypsies are a theme, and nothing more. I could just as well be a poet of sewing needles or hydraulic landscapes. Besides, the gypsyism..."
Buddy, in the current environment, you're lucky you're not the gay poet. All right? Why don't you just fucking...
the dead poet.
Like...
Besides, this gypsyism gives me the appearance of an uncultured, ignorant, and primitive poet that you know very well I am not. I don't want to be typecast.
Okay.
So for someone that was trying to humanize...
I just write about these raggedy people.
Yeah,
what the fuck, man?
Yeah, for someone that was trying to humanize one of the most outcast people in his society, he's all of a sudden like, you do not call me a fucking gypsy. Like, that's dicky.
Jesus Christ. man. God.
You're right, though. It's like, I feel like you should have some perspective on this.
Yeah.
All right, so you know that movie Un Chien Andalao?
Of course.
Not the Pixie song. I'm talking about that old black and white film that famously shows a woman's eye getting sliced open with a razor.
No. I've
really
never
don't?
heard about this in my fucking life.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause this for a second
No,
because I promise
pause
you.
it. Just keep going. It's fine.
No, dude, you know this. It's there's a very famous shot where a dude takes a straight razor to a woman's eye, and there's a cut to her eye, and they cut out her eye, but it was really a horse's eye. It's fucked up. Look, but it's very famous.
I mean, I believe you. Like,
no.
Like,
that's okay. I really don't need to show you. But it's very famous. Anyway, okay, so that was written and filmed by Lorca's two old college friends, Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali. Now, it seems these three were thick as thieves up until Lorca and Dali broke up.
Just so thick. Just some thick-ass thieves.
They were fucking goopy as thieves. But once Lorca and Dali broke up, Dali and Buñuel started hanging out more and more without Lorca, right? Like, I've seen this shit happen. You can't all be in the room together now because it's too awkward. So you got to pick and choose who you want to hang out with more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, Buñuel and Dali make Un Chien Andalao, and Lorca sees this movie as an attack on himself, which, I mean, the movie's title translated into English means an Andalusian dog, and he's known for popularizing Andalusia, but beyond that, it doesn't really make any sense. The whole movie doesn't make any fucking sense. But either way, Lorca is very upset about it, and as the days go on, Lorca's family, who probably know next to nothing about his personal life, notice Federico becoming more and more agitated and aggressive. So on a whim, they just send his ass to New York City with a chaperone who was going there anyway to give a lecture at the Columbia University School of General Studies, just like as a little vacation. Like, hey, there's a buddy going across the ocean. Maybe you should.
Maybe you should get some distance there.
Just get a little air. Yeah. So at 31, in 1929, Federico Garcia Lorca figures he'll just start school again there at the Columbia University School in New York and just kind of start over. But honestly, it wasn't long before he kind of fucked off to visit places like Vermont and even fucking Cuba, all before he can even get a grasp at the English language. And I'm sure his family thought this meant he was getting a new lease on life, but as Federico would later write, he witnessed the stock market crash on Wall Street in October of 1929, which would in turn lead to the entire world going into the Great Depression. He was there for it. He witnessed it. People thought this was the beginning of the end of the world. And as apocalyptic as Lorca's writing was at the time...
Like, nobody, this is not even the worst round.
Right? At that time, though, everyone was like, this is the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. This is the 9/11 of our times. What are you talking? Nothing. Never mind.
I don't know. I just have a feeling with some numbers.
No, people thought this was the end, and he created some poetry, but his family would never even see it. These writings wouldn't even be published until well after his death. And as much as he seemed to like New York, Lorca's view of Americans seemed like something out of a McCarthy? Seemed like something out of a Cormac McCarthy novel.
McCarthy.
Quote, "Aye, Harlem, Harlem, Harlem. There's no anguish like your oppressed reds, or the shudder of your blood within the dark eclipse, or your garnet violence deaf and dumb in the shadows, or your great king held captive in the commissioner's coat. The night was rent, and there were silent ivory salamanders. American girls carried children and coins in their bellies, and boys fainted, racked on the cross. They who drink silver whiskey by volcanoes and swallow little pieces of heart on the frozen mountains of the bear."
Fucking what?
I don't know, but you know what? It's cool. It's pretty fucking sick.
American ladies eating pennies. Gross.
Street pennies. But since Lorca wasn't really...
My pants ain't got no pockets.
That'll be 39 cents, man. It's so immature. I love it. But since Lorca wasn't really paying his own way through life, the stock market crash didn't really affect him. He seemed to have bounced around quite a bit during the Great Depression, actually, mostly to get his stage plays off the ground in places like Puerto Rico or Cuba. And the whole time, his family thinks this isn't a mental breakdown he was having, but it very much was. He knew his sexuality now made him an outlaw in his home country, and he saw the world was going to shit, and he was feeling extremely trapped. He even wrote a play that has never been completely found in its entirety called The Public, which apparently explored homosexual themes, and it could be Lorca himself. That's the reason some of the pages have gone missing. So when Lorca returns to Spain the next year in 1930, it just so happens to coincide with the fall of dictator Primo de Rivera. And once the Great Depression hit the world over in 1930, no one felt the shockwaves more than the people who were already kind of poor. And when you're a dictator, you get every ounce of cash, but you got to remember to throw out a little bit to your cronies so you can stay in power, you know? But with all their cash flow coming to a standstill, dictator Primo de Rivera turned to his generals like, I mean, you guys like me as a person, though, right?
Absolutely not.
And with even the King of Spain no longer backing him, Miguel Primo de Rivera saw the writing on the wall, and he quickly fled to France. He died like a month later, coincidentally, just from fucking diabetes. Like, that's the saddest end to a dictator. It's just like, yeah, and he was shot. No. Oh, he lived out to the end of his days. No. Diabetes? Yeah. Oh.
No justice was served.
That's lame. Yeah. So after this...
The saddest end is died of natural causes for that kind
I don't know. I mean, especially when it comes to dictators, we have seen a lot of, like, South American and African dictators just not be killed in revolts. Like, their power will get overthrown, but then it's like, what happened? He actually bought a place in Hawaii and just lived there until, like, 1980 and died. Natural causes. I was like, that sucks. I hate that ending. It's a bad ending.
Like, oh, that guy's a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
So after this, the entirety of Spain is in turmoil. Every politician, king included, know that the Great Depression isn't going to stop, and whoever steps up to lead is probably going to get killed and overthrown. What?
I'm sorry, no, it just occurred to me that the man mandated hunting down gay people, and he just died of diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean in terms of, like, that section we were talking about, filing it away under no justice?
Yeah.
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 No, he died happy. He died eating Snickers bars until he passed away in France.
Till one day he just couldn't find that juice box.
Where's my fucking Keebler elves? Oh, shit. Yeah, fucking... And that sucks because, honestly, that probably would have happened had he been in power in Spain still. Like, just something would have happened, died from complication of diabetes. And it's like, that fucking sucks.
Weirdly enough, man did not lead a healthy life.
At least he's dead? I don't know. Like,
everyone dies, man.
I know. Like, I always felt that around, like, whenever a shitty politician dies or something, and the news is always like, oh, look at people celebrating it. And it's like,
yeah,
fuck yeah, I am.
Like, yeah, no, that man affected everyone's lives negatively.
You're not special for having died. I'm sorry.
Like, no.
I'm going to die too. Are you going to celebrate it? Probably not, but like...
No, that guy sucked. Like,
yeah, fuck them. So I have considered making like a tour of rest stops to different cemeteries with certain politicians. I'm just waiting for some of them to still die, though. And then I'll be going on an East Coast tour for sure. Well, a few years later, it'll actually be Miguel Primo de Rivera's son, Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera, that steps up as the new fascist leader. But for right now, for like a solid 2 years after their dictator's death, Spain enters what's called the Second Republic, and things are doing okay for a while. Basically, the government becomes self-sustaining without having to worry about bowing down to a leader. So for a short while, they can, look after the people. Well, with all of Lorca's experience in the thespian world, he's made the director of a theater company run by students called La Barraca, the Shack. So clearly, not a lot of money and resources there. But the newly founded Ministry of Education starts sending money their way anyway, with the idea that they could stage a traveling acting troupe, specifically touring the rural areas of Spain, like Andalusia, to try and give these poor people some goddamn culture. And Lorca was all about it. He said, quote, "Outside of Madrid, the theater, which is in its very essence a part of the life of the people, is almost dead, and the people suffer accordingly, as they would if they had lost their 2 eyes or ears or a sense of taste.
Or all their money and food.
We are going to give it
because
back to them.
We're in the middle of the Great Depression. We don't care right now.
Yeah, no, it's funny to me that he's just like, don't you dare call me an Andalusian. And then he's just like, the people of Andalusia. As soon as they gave me that fat fucking check for me to basically skimp on a bunch of students I have to do this with, God bless them. I love them. I wouldn't do this for anyone else. God
damn it.
In this time, Lorca wrote 3 plays for the tour, which are today known as the Rural Trilogy: Blood Wedding, Yerma, and The House of Bernarda Alba, which, while they all have their own tales, all carry a theme about the issues of old Spain. Blood Wedding is about the cycle of violence passed down by family feuds and the small-town justice that comes with revenge. Yerma is about wanting to pass on the bloodline, but being unable to bear children. And The House of Bernarda Alba is about marrying off your daughters in a way that society won't look down upon, regardless of love. All these have much deeper themes and meaning, of course, but we're not going to go into them here. Though interestingly, each play had at least one musical number, showing that Lorca never abandoned his love of creating music. It's not like people were breaking out into song or anything like that, but women were just like passing time by singing songs as they wash clothes, or a mother singing a lullaby to her baby, that kind of thing. There's also this one part that I thought was really cool in The House of Bernarda Alba, where they're talking about this woman that secretly had a baby out of wedlock. So when the baby was born, she killed it and buried it in the woods, but some stray dogs dug it up and returned it to her doorstep because, you know, it smelled like her.
Because there were some good boys.
Yeah, and the townspeople saw this dead baby on her doorstep and knew what she did, and they just end up beating this lady to death.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Fuck.
There's some dark shit in these plays, but they are highly recommended.
Bad dog.
I don't know. I thought that was sick as fuck. It's like, oh, fuck, did they play fetch with a corpse? That's so cool.
No,
it was.
Reading too much McCarthy, man. Fuck off, dude. You need to fucking be
I'm
quarantined for a little while.
I'm reading it. I'm not watching it. It's good. It's good.
Like,
and for all his remaining days, Lorca would mostly abandon the poetry he'd be remembered for to better focus on his plays. Eventually, Lorca made his way to Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, to give a lecture on the emotions felt when seeing art, something he called duende. Quote, "The duende, then, is a power, not a work. It is a struggle, not a thought. I have heard an old maestro of the guitar say, the duende is not in the throat, the duende climbs up inside you from the soles of the feet. Meaning this, it is not a question of ability, but of true living style, of blood, of the most ancient culture, of spontaneous creation."
It's in that thick Latin ass.
So all up inside your hips. When Ricky Martin comes in, the duende is spinning.
Oh, shit.
Boy, I see the duende in you all the time.
It's in the glutes, brother. It's in the glutes.
More specifically, Lorca says duende is the emotion felt from tragedy in art, and because of this, although no one in America has heard of duende, it is used today in musical lectures to describe the emotion behind music like jazz and the blues. And I thought this was interesting. I don't know, like, he did not come up with that word duende, but like, he's from Spain, and the Philippines were taken over by Spain for a little bit of time. So a few years.
Little bit. Just a couple weeks.
But they have a folklore creature called the duende, and it's just this tiny little man that hides your shit.
Is he thick?
Probably. I mean, what gnomes aren't really, you know? Whenever you see gnomes, they're always like
Pretty caked up.
I could get a proof. You know,
Like, yeah.
you can't overpower me.
Doing the squats. Did you just
Towards what? A gnome? Yeah, fuck him.
you just made a gnome rape joke. Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, a little bit. You know what? A little bit.
Fucking
At the one day.
Fucking 37 years old. Fucking in your parents' attic.
You think I'm 37?
Making gnome rape jokes, dude. Like, that's you.
I graduated from the basement, all right?
How do you feel about yourself right now?
I feel pretty fucking good.
You
I
would.
feel good.
Yeah.
I would.
Clapping gnome cheeks. How do we get here?
How
How do we move on?
do we move
I
on?
don't even know if I can move on to their friendship.
You're shorter than me, right?
I'm not wearing the hat. I'm not wearing the hat, dude.
Just put on the fucking lederhosen.
Not wearing
let
the
me
hat.
be happy.
The beard is fine. I want one. But like
I want you to really role play it up for me, though. I've got some mushrooms in the front. I got some mushrooms in the front yard I need you to get under.
just come to do some more work in your yard one day. Just like, I'll pay you $600 more if you wear the hat.
But Lorca believed Duende could be felt in any artistic form, not just music. For instance, he says, in the art of bullfighting. I never quite got... look, I understand bullfighting is pretty cool, but I wouldn't call it an art form, necessarily.
Same country that had outlawed homosexuality.
Yeah.
Did bullfighting?
I know you got a joke in there somewhere, but I'm not making the connection.
You fucking serious? Look how those guys are dressed. That's the that's the gayest shit
Okay, now I get it.
I've ever seen, dude. Like,
yeah,
that's
for sure. I will say, though, okay, being dressed... Okay, I'll say it this way. That is a tough fucking job to have.
I know, it's a tough fucking job to have, and just because it's fucking gay doesn't mean the guy isn't macho as shit.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the fucking thing. You see
Look
American...
at your dad.
Exactly.
That's a fucking weightlifter.
Like, yeah, dude, he'll fucking kill a motherfucker. Also super gay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like the outfit on the
Fucking
bullfighters.
top down on the Jeep and everything.
Dude, say something.
No, I ain't disparaging your dad at all. He'll run up here.
Fat shame me and then beat you up.
He just beats the shit out of me and looks over at you. Really, that hair?
Ever been body shamed by a gay personal trainer?
Not a personal trainer, but it still hurts.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, no. The Spanish bullfighting outfit is objectively...
I'm sure it's tradition. They're going to call it tradition, but you know what?
Right.
Yeah, I've seen that costume worn on parades. It's not for bullfighting parades.
I see less elaborate outfits on RuPaul. Okay?
You see the Mickey Mouse ear hat that they wear sometimes? Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, man. Oh, man. It's just ridiculous. It's just fucking what?
It's like, this is the queeniest shit imaginable. It's like, yeah.
Look, I do think it is obviously very fucking cruel to do that shit to a bull. But that being said, I'm not going to be a dude to stop it. And I do want to experience all that life has to offer. I do want to see a bullfight.
You're going to get fucking killed. Oh,
By
watching?
No, I'm not going to fucking do it.
I thought you were going to say you were going to...
No.
Jordan's running with the bulls.
No, I'm not, and I have thought about running with the bulls where I'm just like, I'll just immediately turn left and jump over a wall just to say I did
round
it.
a
But it's
fucking
like,
corner. And...
I'd much rather watch it. But it's like, no, bullfighting, I love to see it and everything. But yeah, I just imagine just being out there just slay, work, you know? Now,
he almost got his hips.
So he says that Duende can be felt in any art form, and which he told was within bullfighting, right? Now, coincidentally, after he said this, just a year later in 1934, a friend of Lorca's named Ignacio Sanchez Mejas would be gored to death in a bullfight. From this experience came one of Lorca's most well-known poems called Lament for the Death of a Bullfighter. Quote, "At 5 in the afternoon, 5 on the dot afternoon, a boy fetched the white sheet at 5 in the afternoon, a basket of lime waiting at 5 in the afternoon. After that, death and only death at 5 in the afternoon. It goes on for far longer than that, but I'm just trying to condense it.
Till
where
5
I can.
in the afternoon next day.
In 1936, at age 38, Lorca released his last book of poetry, Sonnets of Dark Love. Now, for a while, it was thought the inspiration for the book was over his love of Rafael Rodriguez Rapun. What? 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 I don't even know what you're laughing about. What?
That is dark love.
That's it?
Like a butthole. On a man.
For a while.
Because that's what he likes.
For a while.
Ain't nobody bleaching in the day, man.
Especially not in Andalusia.
Not grown men.
Now, for a while,
Not masculine bullfighting men.
it was thought the inspiration for the book was over his love of Rafael Rodriguez Rapon, about 6 years his senior, who worked with him in the theater troupe La Barraca. But in 2010, a man named Juan Ramirez de Lucas passed away, and his letters were unearthed by his family, revealing that Sonnets of Dark Love was more than likely written for him instead. He and Lorca had met during a production of some play he was putting on, and according to these letters, they got along very, very well. And these letters to Juan de Lucas really made Sonnets of Dark Love make a lot more sense, as Lorca frequently references, quote, the blonde from Albacete. And Rafael Rapun was not blonde and probably not from Albacete either, but Juan de Lucas was both those things. Now, had Federico Garcia Lorca not been such a popular playwright and poet, his socialist views probably would have gone unnoticed. However, because he made such outspoken plays about his love for the Republic and against nationalism, it made things all the worse for him when Jose Calvo Sotelo, a leading member of the Republic, was assassinated. So you remember how no one wanted to really step up as leader for fear of being killed?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, this guy was just the Minister of Finance. He was not the leader of a fucking country, but he was every socialist's first pick should they have one. So when the nationalists started to organize, he was one of the first guys they hit. And these fascists were making very quick work on their would-be opponents. They were killing someone important like once a fucking day. And because there wasn't really a leader, no one was able to organize a group to stop these guys. Because that's what a leader would do. And then they would get killed. You know what I'm saying? Such was the case when Federico Garcia Lorca's brother-in-law, Manuel Fernandez Montesinos, accepted the position as the mayor of Granada. Within a week, he was lined up against the local cemetery wall and shot alongside others from his office.
Efficient.
Yes. On that very same day, on August 19th, 1936, before his family could even get the news about his brother-in-law's death, fascist forces came to the Lorca household. They said they were looking for the whereabouts of the caretaker's brother, but since they couldn't find him, they need to speak with the caretaker himself. The family said they weren't sure of his whereabouts, so the soldiers forced them outside to help look for him. When they did find him, the soldiers told the family to go back inside, where they then stripped the caretaker naked, tied him to a tree, and began whipping him to give up his brother's location, while the Lorcas watched from the windows. It wasn't long before Federico came out to intervene, but he was quickly kicked to the ground and told to stay out of their business. Upon hurling out insults, the soldiers were even heard to call Lorca a, quote, filthy homosexual, which was how he discovered that his secret was out and common knowledge to his enemies. Later that day, the 38-year-old Federico Garcia Lorca was himself arrested by the nationalist militia. As author Ian Gibson theorizes, he was taken to a spot called Fuente Grande about 8 miles from his home, where he probably spent about 2 days in jail before being shot alongside 3 other people. And there was no official report from the government or anything, but because he just up and disappeared, people still knew he'd been killed. Yet they acted as if the why was super hard to figure out, and that's because from 1939 until the mid-70s, dictator Francisco Franco was in power, and as much as Lorca's work was initially banned, his renown as a national treasure had only ever grown over the years. So, like, the government tried to say all of Lorca's plays were forbidden from being performed on stage, but they were getting full stage productions just a year after his death. The people didn't give a fucking shit.
Yeah, there's no way for you to actually police this.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Like, no. You want to keep getting taxes from the sales of this? Shut the fuck up. Like, no.
10%. It's a variety show.
No flamenco.
The ban on Lorca's work was finally lifted 17 years later in 1953, and a book of his complete works was released that very same year, but they were not super complete. Anything mentioning how pretty boys were or how shitty the government was were obviously nixed, and as well as the entirety of Sonnets of Dark Love, the poems about his boyfriend Juan Ramirez de Lucas. Those poems weren't actually found until around 1983, and even then, the project is only partially complete. And by the way, after he wrote his last play, The House of Bernarda Alba, Lorca was working on a small collection of sonnets, but unfortunately, the pages were being looked over and possibly edited by a friend who had the poems on him when he urgently rushed to fight against the Francoist forces on the front lines. The friend died, was likely dumped in a mass grave somewhere, and the last sonnets of Federico Garcia Lorca are today lost. That fucking sucks. But they could possibly still be found?
No.
No. I'm not saying that they will be. I'm just saying.
A lot of things are possible, man.
I'm just saying, like, as far as, like, we've talked about lost...
Most shit isn't probable.
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, as far as, like, lost novels go, there was, like, Herman Melville chucked his lost novel into the sea because he got, like... I don't know, some publisher told him, like, I don't like it. So he's like, just chucked it. But it's like, that maybe... I don't know, under the right circumstances, I don't know. That's tough, though. I wish someday, I hope that his last sonnets are found, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope, for sure. So the Spanish government allows Lorca's works to be publicly displayed for the most part, but they still aren't admitting they're the reason for his disappearance. Like, you can't just come out saying, you killed a national hero. So all these people who supported the fascists were saying shit like, I don't know, man, it's a mystery. He actually had fascist friends too. It was probably the left that killed him. But everyone knows that's bullshit. Like, there are still some people who support that view, but, like, Federico read aloud a Spanish communist manifesto at a dinner party once, which sounds like a terrible fucking party.
Yeah, so in the middle of all this takeover that's happening right now, with a bunch of fascists killing people, the left were like, hang on, man, let's get one in too. Like, that's your argument here? Like,
yeah, their argument is...
it's probably anyway,
communists. You know how they were killing gay people by, like, the dozens? I think he was for it, because he really was kind of thinking about it like, you know what, I think they're right. And I just choose not to be anymore. I think that works. Yeah. No, but that's not to say Lorca didn't have his friends in high places. Up until a few days before his death, he was actually hiding out at the residence of poet Luis Rosales, who was kind of a nationalist sympathizer, and he was warned by Franco's forces not of what would happen to Lorca, but what would happen to him if he continued to give Lorca shelter. So after Lorca got kicked out of his place, it seems like he just resigned to his fate and went back to his own house, just waiting for them to show up, which they, of course, eventually did. Doesn't really sound like he had a lot of nationalist friends if you're on that side of the argument, but hey, maybe that's just me. But there were even nationalist newspapers denouncing Lorca's disappearance altogether. They said he wasn't dead. He probably just ran away because he's a fucking coward. And for a while, no one could prove it one way or the other. Most people assumed he was killed, yet some nationalists still said he was living his best gay life in Argentina, which would have also probably not been great given like another 20 years once a bunch of other people from Germany end up flying to
Well, it's not
Argentina.
like they could have been too loud about it there. So
True. But in 2015, it was all confirmed when a police report from 1965 was discovered detailing Federico Garcia Lorca, someone who was taking part in, quote, homosexual and abnormal practices, who had been assassinated by Francoist forces back in 1936.
hey, nothing abnormal about homosexuality.
So there it was, though. It was an official report from the government themselves. They said it, you know. To this day, Federico Garcia Lorca's remains have never been found. Although part of the problem is, maybe we have, and we just don't know it yet.
I feel like it's mass grave, man.
Exactly, that's the problem. Because in December of 2000, a man whose grandfather was killed by Franco's forces started a group called the Association of the Recovery of Historical Memory, which goes on excavations around Spain to try and dig up the hidden remains of people assassinated during the Spanish Civil War. Yeah. You have a thing or two to say about that?
No, that just sounds really fucking gnarly, because you think about, like, archaeologists and stuff digging up, like, bones, and, like, that's not gonna be just bones.
Yep.
You feel me? Like, that's gonna be some serious nastiness. Like,
In just 9 years, they'd uncovered 1,700 bodies.
Ooh. Fuck.
And the Spanish government, as of 2022, has created a database to log in their DNA to at least give some families some closure. And so far, no Federico, but people remain hopeful. Just twice have the courts opened up an official investigation into finding his remains specifically, but they've closed each one after a little bit of time, like, fuck it. You know?
Maybe our resources would be better spent, just letting you guys all know about the evils of fascism.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, though, it's just like, what about the people who are recently disappeared? Yeah, but this guy did poetry, I think the problem with opening up an investigation to find a single body in Granada is that Spain has been covered in buried bodies since the Civil War, and anyone they dig up that isn't him needs to be fully investigated as well. And I looked it up. 500,000 people were killed during the Spanish Civil War. That's a lot of extra work. That's a number. 1,700 does not even begin to dent that fucking number. Oh boy, you are driving down a road and you can pretty much be guaranteed there's bodies. There's bodies under there.
Start rooting through it, brother.
Maybe some of them got some cool poems on hand that we can throw away.
Just one very stressed lab technician.
Yeah. And Lorca's surviving family has always been really sketchy about finding him too. Like, as I mentioned before, there has been some evidence to suggest that Lorca was killed with 3 other guys, and we know who these guys supposedly are. So if they were all shot together, then it would stand to reason that they were buried together too. Well, the family of one of these guys really wanted closure on their dead relative, and they begged the courts to let this team of people who thought they knew where they were buried to let them dig there. But for whatever reason, I guess because Lorca's remains would be found too, they needed permission from Lorca's family, and they just would not give it. They did eventually, though they said, like, maybe they would allow DNA testing to confirm it was him. And it's like, what the fuck? I mean, they didn't find anything at the end of the day, but it's still weird. I would have to imagine, though, that they were probably harassed by the Francoist government anytime Federico got brought up. And this is just my theory, but it feels to me that he'd become the face of, like, a hidden revolution that the government had to fight really hard to suppress. Like, he is a fantastic poet, but killing him just made the guy a martyr. And maybe the rest of the Lorca family just got a little gun-shy from all the threats over the years. Well, regardless, soon after his death, Federico's little sister, Isabel Garcia Lorca, about 11 years his junior, championed her brother's work so it would never die with him. The Lorca family moved to Madrid as soon as Federico was captured, knowing they'd more than likely be next, as their father was still a rich landowner, after all. On their first day in Madrid, the phone rang and Isabel answered the phone. The person on the other line asked for the friend they were staying with, to which she replied that he was in bed and if she could take a message. The voice said, quote, Just tell him that it is true, that Federico Garcia Lorca has been killed in Granada. The family soon moved to New York, housed by a Spanish politician that was also on the run from their home country. Their father, Federico Garcia Rodriguez, died in 1945 without ever having returned to Spain, as he had hoped. Their mother, Vicenta, returned in 1951 to Madrid, wishing to never return to Granada, and she died just a short while later, in 1959. Isabel herself died in 2002. The three places Federico lived as a boy, his birthplace in Fuente Vesqueros, his home in Valderrubio, and his home in Granada, are today all museums. Shit, the apartment he lived in for...
Towns are just museums?
No, his home.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure they're pretty ancient looking. It's pretty cool. They have really good olive oil in Spain.
Do they now?
They do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a fucking twist, man.
I'm just saying.
Wouldn't have thought.
They got everyone's always like, oh, Italy's got the virgin olive oil. And it's like, yeah, I don't want it fucked either, but like Spain has really good olive oil. Anyway, man.
Oh, God.
The apartment he lived in for 6 months in Argentina is now a museum as well. But his home in Granada, the Huerta de San Vicente, is that correct?
I don't fucking know, man.
All right, so probably. You wouldn't want to give me too much credit. The Huerta de San Vicente.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Is the main museum, which opened in 1995 with the surrounding area renamed Park Federico Garcia Lorca in his honor. There's also a Park Federico Garcia Lorca in Alfacar over the spot where some think he was killed, which is a little more fucked up. I don't want that to be memorialized for me, you know?
Hey, man, this is the spot.
Hey, you guys want to go smoke some pot over the spot where this dude was fucking murdered? Hell yeah. That sounds pretty...
That's what I would say.
That's how it's memorialized today. But until we actually exhume his body, there's a stone memorial at this park that has a lot of people come to it in his remembrance every August 19th, the day he was taken away. There's also a statue that stands in the Plaza de Santa Ana in Madrid, which one man reported, quote, "The statue, at least, is still an emblem of the contested past. Each day, the left puts a red kerchief on the neck of the statue, and someone from the right comes to take it off." Meaning there are still people debating whether or not he was a leftist. Anyway, Emilian Aladren Parrojo, the sculptor Lorca dated for a short while back in the 1920s, was actually awarded several prizes for his work and became a supposed favorite of dictator Francisco Franco, whom, if he had known Parrojo was gay, would have killed him just like his ex. In fact, several people Lorca was romantically involved with died fighting in the Spanish Civil War. Margarita Zergu, the lady who played the title character in Lorca's 1923 play Mariana Pineda, and whom people thought he was dating.
Mariana Pineda, yes.
Yes. She starred in a film based on another of Lorca's plays, Bloodwedding, in 1938, where she remains the only person to have personally known Lorca to appear in one of his stage adaptations on film. She died at age 80 in 1969. It's fucking crazy to think about. These people from so fucking long ago, and it's like, you were alive to see the Vietnam War. You know, like, it's really not that much of a far cry from just history in general.
No, that shit just happened.
It really did. Lorca's two best friends in college, Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali, died in 1986 and 1989 respectively. And while we're pretty sure Dali was closeted, Buñuel was also the kind of guy to be overly into women to the point where it came off as kind of fake.
Well,
like,
man, I mean, look, they're probably just both bisexual.
I know,
like,
but they also grew up in a government that was just like, hey, man, if you think that dude looks pretty nice with his shirt off, I'm going to fucking kill you. And they're just like, oh, man, pussy.
There's only one space where that's appropriate.
Oh, fuck, dude. Oh, my God, pussy. Oh.
And that's in the bull ring.
Let me...
I want that exposed chest, fucking shoulder pads, extravagantly fucking decorated suit there.
Look, they got to be kind of thin.
Weird little high
and the
socks.
hips got to be moving
exactly
in order to miss that ball.
We need an hourglass figure on that bullfighter.
Fucking pear-shaped men. Oh. Anyway.
No. The pear shape's not what you go for, man. It's hourglass.
Yeah. Well, all right. Look, you and I have differences, so we're going to take our shirts off and discuss later.
Just go ahead and say the pear shape is it's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Hourglass, really?
Yeah.
All right. You know, I'm not gonna fight it. I'm just gonna say. And although
you just don't have anything for me to rebut.
No, I don't want to get into this with you now. And partly because I don't have an hourglass figure, and I feel like why don't you like salami shaped men? You know,
like a cylinder.
Yeah,
I don't like cylinder shaped anybody.
Well, fuck you. And although the acting troupe La Barraca, the one Lorca was in charge of, disbanded shortly before his death in 1935. There's still a production company operating under that name producing his plays today. Federico Garcia Lorca continues to inspire writers to this day. He's been the subject of poems by people like Allen Ginsberg, numerous true crime books trying to locate his grave, and was even mentioned in The Clash's 1979 song Spanish Bombs. But I think that's only because Lorca popularized the Andalusia region of Spain, and Joe Strummer was really into the lead singer of the Slits, who was from Andalusia. That whole song is for her, by the way, and she just was not impressed. Have you ever listened to it? It sounds like when Frank Black from the Pixies does Spanish, but he was actually trying really hard to do Spanish, and it's bad.
But the Pixies weren't trying because they were so cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know if you know this about people that speak Spanish, but they really don't fucking like it when you don't fucking speak it good.
Oh shit, they're like this. They're like the French of South America.
Just you can spend years and years and years working among them and never once questioning anything they're saying in broken English. The minute you fucking say Spanish incorrectly,
for real though, okay, no.
Like,
I've only met like me trying to do Spanish with like enthusiasm, you know, but it's like friendly. It's not in the same way that like
if you actually start to try to learn Spanish and then you're not if you are doing that beautiful language in injustice, you will be let know.
You will be mocked.
Like, shut the fuck up and don't say it if you're not going to say it right. Like, oh my god.
I feel like I'm not learning. I'm not going to lie. I feel like you have it more because you've got a little bit. I'm not
because I really
with you.
fucking should know.
You are half, and they're just like. You are doing a disservice. When I do it, it's cute.
They're like, you're a fucking disgrace. I'm like, yeah, I know. Really. And they're like, fucking, I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm trying really fucking hard. This is what happens every time I try.
Anyway, I do want to say...
thought the spirit would just take me?
Kind of.
No.
I mean...
It doesn't work like that. What the fuck?
You know, I am sick of this. People saying French is the language of love. Dude, Spanish is so fucking hot to me. I don't know why, but just goddamn. And any variation of it... Portuguese, or like Barcelonian Spanish, Catalan, they call it, you know, Italian. I don't know, any of that from the Romance language. Spanish.
French is the language of piss and cigarettes.
French is the language of just ash in the air and just, and fucking, I can smell forehead grease. I don't like it, you know? Anyway, join us next week for our French racism podcast. No, anyway, I do want to say that my introduction to Federico's work was the 2008 movie Little Ashes about the love affair between Lorca and Dali, and the whole thing is just made up speculation, but me and Nicole and her sister watched this when it first came out because it had Robert Pattinson in it as Salvador Dali, and this was like right after Twilight.
I don't even remember this.
No, it was like straight to DVD. It was right after Twilight came out. So we were like, all right, let's see if he can act if he was given a better script, you know? And it was such a stupid fucking movie. There's this great scene where Dali watches Lorca have sex and he just cries and masturbates in a corner.
Why does everything the man's in involve cranking hog?
I don't know. And here's the thing.
Like The Lighthouse, I loved that shit. It's just him and Willem Dafoe cranking hog.
Yeah,
like,
any award...
And farting.
Any award-winning movie has to have masturbation. I don't know why it is, but it always does. Fucking Black Swan. Like, they all have masturbation in it. I don't know why.
Hog cranking or...
No, just masturbation in general.
Wait, like... Because Like, I mean, if it's just a lady masturbating, it's not edgy.
True.
But if a hog's getting cranked, like that's
yeah.
You're like, nobody wants to see
yeah.
that. That's some real shit right there. That's violent.
No, and this movie did win awards, and I don't care if it does. That movie was fucking stupid. Little Ashes is dumb. But I did walk away from it like
first hog cranked in mainstream cinema.
I was though, like after the movie went off, I was like, man, that one guy had some great fucking poetry. My sources today. Selected poems by Federico Garcia Lorca, translated by Martin Sorrell, Oxford University Press, 2009. Bloodwedding, Yerma, and the House of Bernarda Alba from the Three Tragedies of Federico Garcia Lorca, translated by James Grand Lujan and Richard L. O'Connell. New Directions paperback, 1955, 10th printing. The Spirit of Lorca, 1986. I can't find any information about who made this movie, but it's on YouTube, and the guy who wrote the definitive book of Lorca, Ian Gibson, narrates the whole thing, so it's really good, but it looks like it probably came from the BBC. UniversalLorca.com. Huge shout out to them, by the way. That website has everything on this guy. I wish all authors had a website as good as this one, and Wikipedia. Now, we do have bulls. You want to go out to fucking Hillsborough and bullfight?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I thought we had to go further.
Hillsborough?
No. But we've got honky bullfighting here, which is like a whole different thing. Yeah.
No way. Where?
Okay, so the difference in between the very flamboyant
we have
Spanish
rodeo shows.
Yeah, we got
That's
rodeo
not what you're
shit.
talking about, right?
No. We don't have like bullfighting, but we got like rodeos, which is like, I mean, dude, they fucking stress them out. They're fucking like, running clowns and shit and doing all that. And that's the other side of the gay spectrum where it's like so masculine that it's gay, where it's like
right.
there's a bunch of like fucking like thick ass good men in leather.
I'm the straightest man ever. That's why I only wear tight fucking denim. Oh, tucked in shirts buttoned up and a little bit buttoned down, just two down, so you
just
can
rugged,
see my chest hair.
Hard, brother. Hard.
I'm always got a boner. That's how you know I'm straight.
And that's really like, you go hard enough in the masculinity direction and it gets fucking gay.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding me?
That's the Western rodeo.